Look out, man.
What are you doing? All right, so today we've got the motor in place. We did that last time. But we're gonna move to the rear subframe, get everything pulled out. New bushings in. Jamie's excited, he's already starting. But I gotta talk to you, so stop, Jamie, jeez. We're gonna explain what's gonna happen today. We got the new subframe bushings, so we're gonna have to pull out all of this stuff, which is kind of hard to see. But the subframe comes down, suspension's all coming out. We're replacing these rear trailing arms and doing new coilovers. And the guys from WaveTrack are gonna put a new diff in for us because I don't know how to do that. So I'm gonna rely on some professionals. All right, so first things first, Jamie.
Yep.
When we get to this, we're gonna get these, but that's gonna be last. We're gonna have to pull the axles out first because it's just harder to do when it's out of the car. So we can hold the wheels and stuff in place while we do that. Then afterwards, we'll take the wheels off so we can get access to everything else, and it's a little bit more manageable. And then just these come down, these, sway bar, and everything should come down. I already unhooked the brake lines. So we'll do that, get all this down, pull the subframe down, pull it out, then we'll pull all the bushings out, which is definitely not my favorite part, but it's gotta be done. I've laid out all the tools that we need already, and usually we have a better tool for the axles, but right now we have a 3/8 wrench, so that'll be there for that. Hammer and pry bar, just in case it doesn't want to come out very easily. And an impact with a 18 mil socket. It's pretty much all you need for the rear end of this. And then a ratchet strap for the trans jack, just to ratchet strap the entire subframe so it doesn't fall off. And then I'm gonna put another jack underneath the front of the car here to hold it up, because we're gonna pull a lot of weight out of the rear end. The engine's in the car, it's on the stand, so if we pull all the weight out of the rear, it's gonna be really nose heavy and it could fall off. So as a safety precaution, we'll put one under the front cross member. Look out, man. All right, hold on.
ABS line?
Here's one thing I even forgot to mention, and I've done this quite a few times on an M3. Got the ABS sensors and stuff here. Just this little pad on the side, pop that open, and then these just pop out. That's it, it's pretty simple. Just the 4 studs coming down and the front of the control arm there, and that's it. All right, so now we have the subframe on the ground. And what we have to do is get everything out of it. So we got to take the diff out. But first we want to take the axles out, these studs here, and then all the different arms, the toe arms, control arms, and then sneak the diff out. And that'll give us just a bare subframe so it's easy to manage and put in our press.
Huh? Duh.
I get stuck. All right, so Jamie and I pulled out this old diff, which is a factory limited slip, and we wanted to get rid of that and replace it with something a little bit nicer. So we brought in Chris from WaveTrack, and he is gonna be our expert for the day because I've run out of knowledge on how this stuff works. So he's gonna explain everything, how it's gonna work. And I'm gonna send this away with him. When it comes back, we're gonna have a brand new differential ready to go for the M3. So we got a bunch of stuff sitting out here. I've never really seen like an exploded view of the internals of a diff, and this is your wave track diff. Show me what I'm looking at.
Yeah, most people have seen pictures of the, the outside of a diff. They know what a limited slip is, but they don't quite know how it works. Most ATB or helical limited slips are the same. They're gonna have 5 or 6 pinions. Their job is to bias power left or right, depending on how much traction is available with a bit of initial preload. The one issue is once you lift a wheel, spin a wheel, you're unable to multiply that power because the wheel's in the air. You can't multiply off of 0, basically. Yeah. So what we have is our wave hub. So that has a wave profile in it, and this will sit against the side gear, like so. Basically, everything sits like this. Then when you get a difference in speed, this will begin to rotate and ramp one way or the other. So it works in acceleration or deceleration. Yeah. And what that does is it builds additional load when load isn't available from traction and biases power to whatever wheel is still on the ground. So it doesn't leave you going through a corner, hitting the rumble strip, and getting that staccato effect where you're just not getting drive, or again, just straight line wheel spin, whatnot. So the other thing we have is steel bias plates with carbon on them. These sit inside the housing right there, like so, for the pinion to ride against. This gives us an equal and predictable amount of friction for the entire life of the diff versus the pinion riding directly on the housing. That can cause wear, which will change the dynamic or how the diff works. We also have that same carbon on the backside of that hub.
I want to see how it goes together. I've seen you pull it apart, but I want to see you put it back together. And
yeah, pretty straightforward. So we already dropped the bias plate in. So after that, we'll take our side gear. There's a little chamfer there for the axle insertion. So that'll sit like so. Then we have our pinions. Then we take this hub, it has the carbon on it, that'll go straight down. We also have Belleville washers in the middle. This gives initial preload when that wheel lifts or spins. So we'll drop that in like that, and then that fits into that little rectangle right there. And then there's the wave to the wave. Once we get that dropped, just make sure
really cool.
Yeah, everything works. Line up with the pin. Line this up and drop it in. And
that's simple.
And that's pretty much the diff. After that, we'll go and drop the bolts in, bolt your ring gear into it, and they're good to go.
You do all this work, so we don't have to do it.
Yeah, we can do this. You just give us, as we're doing with your car, we're taking the diff, we'll install it, get it back to you, and you'll be good to go.
That's all the work, all for that, just a subframe. So the new bushings, we'll replace these 4 here, and then this one right here for the diff. All right, so right now we're actually taking out the subframe bushings, which are these kind of rubber junk things. So what you gotta do is, I took a 3-inch exhaust tube, and you can put it on the other side of the subframe when you're pressing it out, and that just allows this to slip through it. So I measured the length of it to give it enough room to come out. And it's kind of a tedious process and a little bit awkward, but you see what we have to do. Just want this to sit about as even as it can. Doesn't sound pleasant, does it?
No.
Bam. That's it. They actually came out pretty easy, and not used to that. Most of the time, it's kind of difficult on, say, an S chassis or something like that, but BMW ones came out pretty easy. Just the appropriate size stuff to ram it out with the press. So now all we have to do is lube it up and put in the new ones and get ready to put it back in. Got it.
Went in?
Yeah. So we got all the new PowerFlex bushings in that we got from Bimmer World. This should stiffen everything up and make it really nice. These were kind of a pain to put in just in the back of the diff cover, but It's gonna make a huge difference, so it's worth doing. And now we're gonna move on to the trailing arms, which should be the worst ones to do. Good thing we got some new ones because these are trash. So you can see here, there's quite a bit of flex. I can just push it in and out with my fingers. So that's all dry rotted and pretty terrible. And this makes a big difference because the suspension can go back and forth, the wheel will move back and forth like that, and it's gonna change everything in your suspension and your alignment. So the car would just drive wild and you could break axles, all kinds of stuff. So this is a very important piece to replace. Let's see if we can get these things up there.
Oh, it's like almost there.
This is such an awkward design. So we just finished the first bushing in the trailing arm, and it's terrible. It's awkward, it's heavy. I don't know how you do it by yourself. Thankfully I have Jamie. So I'm gonna press that one in, move to the next one, and that should be all for all the bushings. So yeah, I had to hammer in the ears because it was too wide to fit in here, which made a problem. Done with that finally. Made it.
Yep.
So good.
Yep.
So now that the really annoying part is done, both the trailing arm bushings are in, ready to go. All the subframe bushings are in, ready to go. Chris has taken the diff and he's going to get that all set up for us. We're gonna move on, get the subframe, everything put back in, probably put the subframe in first and then follow with the trailing arms and the uprights and all that. I hate all this corrosion.
Is that something they put on there so it doesn't rust, or just over time?
No, that's just corrosion. Oh, backwards. So what Jamie has are some Bavarian tongues. What'd you say they were for?
For picking up hot sausages from the grill,
Some bratwurst?
some bratwurst.
Some sauerkraut?
Yep.
But we've replaced them with these from Bimmer World, and they are much more substantial. They're fully adjustable. Very nice. Instead of these that tend to bend and then you have a whole lot of problems, you got these replacements which are fast and on the fly for adjustments. Pretty nice stuff.
Yep.
I dig it. Let's put the coilers down. Well, the subframe's back in, new arms are on, coilovers are installed. So we're just gonna put the fuel tank back in just to finish this up. Glad there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, now we're moving to the front to put on the front coilovers. Lower the ride height a little bit, make it look cool. Pretty excited with the BC coilovers. They kind of came pretty low. We never even really checked to see how high they were. Usually I just put them on and go up and down with it and see where it sits and if we have to go up or down. Yeah, as I thought. Lifts all the way down, so she's super low.
Yep.
Is this one spinning too?
Yeah, I like it.
I like it if it sat like it did right now.
Yeah.
Like if there's no droop in the suspension.
We're gonna get tire tuck for sure.
It's already tucking tire in the rear. It's not even on the ground. So it looks super sweet. It's really low. It's probably too low.
No such thing.
Yeah, I know, everybody says that, but then you try and drive it and we can't get it out of the dock. So we're gonna have to do something. After today, I feel like we got the coilovers on and set to where we want it. We got 2 new sets of wheels we wanna try out. We got an angle kit we wanna put on, and we won't be able to tell where it's actually gonna sit until all that's on. So we're gonna pick that up next time. Perfect.